In March 2021, Secretary Blinken accused China of the crime of genocide for its alleged treatment of the Uyghur minority, but he didn't accuse them of killing on any mass scale or forcible transfer. Now we see with Israel's military assault on Gaza, something like every 200 people in the Gaza Strip has been eliminated. Over 4,000 children killed. The Ministry of Intelligence, as Sam pointed out, in Israel has published a blueprint for the forced transfer of the entire Palestinian population to Egypt. We have the intent to commit genocide expressed at the highest level of the Israeli government, including Netanyahu himself referring to the Palestinian population as Amalek, the biblical Amalek. So I wonder, when you're accusing one country of genocide without accusing them of mass killing, and then blocking ceasefires to enable another country's military assault, what metric are you using to determine genocide, or is this just political rhetoric?
It's certainly not political rhetoric. The department, and I talked a little bit about this yesterday, we have a rigorous process in place for evaluating whether something constitutes as genocide or not, and that is true in any country that that situation might be being looked at. That is not a term that we have assessed pertains to this current conflict.
It is political rhetoric because UN Human Rights Commissioner back in 2022, Michelle Bachelet, did visit China, and she made statements that went against American propaganda. And after those statements, guess who was forcing her to resign? And since Michelle would not be America's puppet, the authoritarian government forced her to resign. Because how dare she make statements that went against America and the Western propaganda? This was all, of course, so that the United States could submit their own report about what's going on in China and Xinjiang. Conflict of interest much? Where the racist Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, could release this statement, but let's get one thing straight. He confuses Uyghurs with Palestinians and China with Israel because the things he lists in here, Israel has actually done and been documented. China's only been propagandized and allegedly accused with barely any evidence. Because US declares Xinjiang a massive open-air prison. I don't know if you ever looked at a map of China, but that's the Xinjiang region. China would need to have another Great Wall to enclose it all. Not to mention it borders multiple other countries, where there's a high-speed rail going through it. And I wouldn't know how you'd lock down this massive region. It costs tons and tons of money just to maintain. Not to mention, we don't even have the technology there yet to monitor all of that. You say there's widespread allegations of forced sterilization and mandated birth control by China to the Uyghurs, but we know for a fact that Israel has done this. Yet somehow the State Department can still say China's committing genocide even though they admitted that there's no mass killing because they're not dropping white phosphorus bomb like Israel's doing. Because you quote the UN Convention's definition of genocide, the threshold isn't just killing members of a targetable group, but rather causing seriously body harm or mental harm. Like bombing Palestinians 23 hours a day? The institution of measures intended to prevent births or forcibly transfer one group of children to another. So like bombing a hospital or taking their children. You know, all things Israel has done to Palestinians, where the State Department can't provide concrete proof of what's actually happening to Uyghurs and China's, but instead funds propaganda outlets like this one and many others that I have covered before that lie about the context or exaggerate the truth of what's actually happening there. But there's no greater hypocrisy than Israel signing a statement against China's treatment of Uyghurs when Israel is committing a mass-killing genocide. And yeah, I can hear you racists already repeating this because that somehow makes China evil when you really have no proof. But we do have proof of Israel paying people to defend them online. And they also paid people to be at their protests. And yet that somehow doesn't make Israel evil for some hypocritical reason. And I'm not even touching on China's right to self-defense from terrorist attacks. Because for some reason, China should just let it go. Or you believe that China deserves it, but not Israel, because you're racist. At the end of the day, authoritarians won't let hypocrisy or double standards matter to them because they actually enjoy it. They revel in it because that's how they know they have privilege and power.